What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jordan and I'm a second year medical student in the state of New Jersey. So it is my third week of my second year of medical school, and I wanted to take this time to sort of reflect on my first year and talk about the 5 biggest takeaways that I have. It's hard to distill everything that I experienced and learned in first year into 5 things, so they're pretty broad, overarching themes or lessons. So my first takeaway is medical school is about as hard as they say it is. I always heard and saw on social media how many hours people spend studying. There's always that joke of, oh, I covered my whole undergrad degree in my first week of med school. It's not that far from the truth. My first course, which is about 7 weeks long, was pretty much everything that we covered in all of my undergrad classes and the MCAT. It wasn't as deep of detail as we went to in those classes, but was still pretty much everything and then some. I do think everyone has the capabilities of understanding everything in med school from a conceptual point of view, but the real challenge is how fast it comes at you. My school might be a little bit worse than others too because we have a accelerated curriculum. We do our whole preclinical phase in 16 months, which is a little bit shorter than other schools. But honestly, no matter where you go, you're going to be learning at a ridiculous pace, and a pace that you're just not used to in undergrad. To give you some examples of how fast we do things, we did all of renal in 3 weeks. Renal is arguably one of the hardest organ systems that you learn in medical school, and to do it in 3 weeks was just ridiculous. Some of our lectures had maybe 15 different diseases we needed to know, and that was only one of our 10 lectures of the week. So the old trope of drinking water from a fire hose is definitely true. And to give a different analogy, because that fire hydrant one is a little bit overused, I heard this from University of Iowa School of Medicine's podcast, but another way to think of it is like you're eating pancakes. Basically, every single day you're given 10 pancakes, tomorrow you're gonna get another 10, the next day, so on. And it's your choice to sort of divvy up how many pancakes you eat each day. You can choose to only eat 3 today, but that just means you're gonna have 17 on your plate tomorrow. I like this analogy a little bit better because it sort of shows that you have some sort of flexibility in your schedule, at least in the preclinical phase. And this sort of ties into my next big takeaway, which is balance is possible and necessary. Throughout my first year of medical school, I learned that it is totally possible to have a life outside of medical school and still eat all your pancakes. You just have to be smart about how you budget your time. There were dozens of times where I had a big event some day of the week, so I just needed to do a little bit more studying all the other days of the week to make up for it. I will say this is a lot easier to do the further you are from an exam. Other schools do things differently, but at least at my school, we have an exam about every 8 weeks. And while it's not really possible to cram for an exam in med school like you could in college or high school, the amount you're studying definitely increases the closer you get to the test. So I learned to try to plan some of my more time-consuming and fun events towards the beginning of a block when I knew things were going to be a little bit more relaxed. Because I knew once I got about a week out from my exam, I was going to have basically no free time. So the key takeaway is you can have a life and do everything that you want. You just have to be smart about it and plan accordingly. So the other half of this takeaway is balance isn't just possible, but it's necessary. Medical school will take everything that you give it, so you need to learn to not let it consume you entirely. Because of the volume of information, I never felt as prepared for a medical school exam compared to how I felt for exams in college. In college, I would feel like, I pretty much studied everything. I feel pretty good about all the concepts, I can stop studying. In medical school, there is always more to do. So you need to learn the skill of when to put down the books and go do something else. Burnout is very real in medicine and medical school. Thankfully, I didn't feel too much of it in this past year, but that might change with clinical rotation starting in a few months because our workload is going to grow even more. You need to take care of yourself and do things that recharge you and give you joy. So please do not give up your hobbies in medical school. While you might not be able to do them as often as you were able to before, at least carve out some time once a week to do something for yourself. And if it's something you can include your classmates in, then that's even better. A few of my classmates love rock climbing and they've been going once or twice a week since we started med school. But a few months ago, we planned a big event and 25 of us went. So it was a really great way to relax and connect with my classmates outside of the school setting. And sort of going along with this is scheduling healthy behaviors into your day. I think as future doctors, we need to take care of ourselves and practice what we preach to our patients. So I've made it a big priority of mine to stay consistent with working out over this past year. It's easier for everyone, myself included, to fall off the wagon and not exercise or eat healthy when things get busy. So by scheduling it into your day as if it were studying or going to class, it's a little bit harder to skip and you're more likely to stick with it. Alright, now moving on to my third takeaway. The people you meet in medical school are amazing. I have the most incredible group of classmates. Everyone is so nice and supportive, and everything is really a team effort. I think a big contributor to this is the fact that my school is pass-fail for the preclinical curriculum. It decreases competition between everyone and just leaves room for you to be nice and do everything you can to help those around you. But aside from just being nice, these are some of the smartest and most hardworking people I've ever met. It's a really great group of people to be around, and it's made medical school a lot more enjoyable. I've definitely made some lifelong friends here, and I'm excited to continue that over the next 3 years. Also, the faculty is amazing. So many of our professors are really invested in our education and create a positive learning environment. Some of my best memories from medical school are in our Friday case-based learning sessions. It's a small group session that's led by one of the doctors from one of our hospitals, and we work through cases together. All my facilitators so far have been super kind and knowledgeable. I've learned so much from them, and they always say hi when I pass them in the hallway. My school has a longitudinal clinical experience in the first year, so I go in maybe once a month and work with an internal medicine doctor, and she's also been awesome. I can tell she really cares about her patients and enjoys teaching medical students. She's always good about asking what we're learning that week in lectures so she can try to connect it to one of the patients, and even if we don't see a patient that has any of the things that we have been learning about, she'll just take like 20 minutes at the end of the day and we'll just talk through stuff, and she'll give us a lot of the clinical information that we might not get in lecture, but that it's going to be really helpful in our clinical rotations. So all of my experiences with our faculty has made me even more excited for clerkships and meeting more great doctors. Alright, and my fourth takeaway isn't as positive as my last one, but imposter syndrome is real. Medical school is very interesting in the fact that you're taking people that are all at the top of their class in whatever college they went to, and you're putting them all in the same room. Everyone around you is just as smart as you, and that's something that a lot of us aren't used to. You hear about what people did in their gap years, and you're like, wow, I have not done something even nearly that impressive. I had some classmates that have had whole other careers in different fields, and I know one of the M1s got her PhD at Stanford before coming here. It's very easy to compare yourself to others and sort of get down on yourself. Getting into medical school is a long and difficult process, and you proved to the admissions committee that you have what it takes to be a doctor. Alright, and my fifth and final takeaway is enjoy the journey. Medical education is a long road. 4 years of undergrad, then maybe you do 1 or 2 gap years, then it's 4 years of medical school, anywhere between 3 and 7 years of residency, and then some people will do a few years of fellowship on top of that. So you're looking at anywhere from 7 to maybe 12 years of schooling after undergrad before you're a real doctor. Sometimes you get caught into the trap of, oh, I'll be happy when X. As a pre-med, it's, oh, I'll be happy when I get into medical school. Then when you're here, oh, I'll be happy when I get into a good residency. Then it's, oh, I'll be happy when I'm attending. So if you're not careful, you're just going to keep pushing that off until the next milestone, and you're never going to allow yourself to be happy. Medical education is all about delayed gratification. You're working and studying more than a lot of other people for a whole decade. So while I understand looking towards the light at the end of the tunnel, because yes, life as an attending is probably going to be better than life as a resident, I'm still trying my hardest to enjoy the present. I want to do a surgical subspecialty, so I'm looking at 6 years after medical school before I'm in attending, and that's 9 years away. I don't want to be miserable for 9 years just counting down the days until I'm done with my training. So I've tried to shift my mindset into enjoying every step along the way as much as I can. I think the best way that I've done this is going back to my earlier point of balance. Doing fun things with my girlfriend and our classmates has really helped ground me and makes me stop thinking so far ahead in the future. Also, reminding myself of what a privilege it is to be here really helps. This is something that not a lot of people get to experience, so I don't want to take that for granted and just be thinking about residency already. So while this has undoubtedly been one of the toughest years of my life, it's also probably been the best. I'm still early on in the journey, but I'm 1/4 of the way to achieving my dream of being a doctor, and that feels pretty good. Like I said, I've made lifelong friends here, and I've been able to do some really cool things inside and outside of the classroom. So the last bit of reflection I want to touch on is about this YouTube channel. In this past year, I've gained 500 subscribers, which is pretty crazy to think about. The two main reasons I started this channel in the first place was one, to document my journey so I have something to look back on in a few years, but I also wanted to make content to help out the next batch of medical students. My main source of information when I was applying to medical school was through social media, so I sort of wanted to give back to that community. I've had dozens of people reach out to me over this past year thanking me for making these videos, saying how much they learned, and just asking for more advice, and that means so much to me. That's literally why I made this channel. One of the coolest things has been meeting the new M1s at my school and them coming up to me and saying that they've watched my videos to learn what it's like to be a student here. So for everyone watching, I cannot thank you enough for supporting this channel, and if there's anything I can do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out. And to wrap things up, I just want to briefly touch on what is to come in my second year of medical school. So we are in the first few weeks of our GI block right now. We have this for about 6 more weeks. And then we have one more course, which is our psych and neuro course, and then we're done with our preclinicals. We finish at the end of October, and then the whole month of November is what they call a transitional clerkship. It's basically us learning new clinical skills, brushing up on old ones, really solidifying how to write a note, doing stuff like going on rounds in one of our hospitals to sort of get a sense of what that's going to be like on rotations. So it's basically just like a rotation boot camp. And then come the first few days of December, we start our rotations. My first rotation is internal medicine. I'm going to have that for 8 weeks. A little bit scared about it, but very excited. Internal medicine is one of the hardest rotations just because of the breadth of knowledge you have to have for that field. So I've gotten a lot of advice that it's going to be very tough to start with that, but it's going to set me up really well for everything after that. So we'll see how it goes, but regardless, I'm very excited to start rotations. All right, well, that is going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like below and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this in the future. Thanks, and I will see you in the next one.